Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another options and play video update. Wanted to incorporate some NTA March Madness into the title here to get people to hop on and watch the video. Right? I feel like everybody's probably distracted from basketball this afternoon, but actually a pretty interesting session overall. Uh, After kind of a wild Fed reversal session yesterday, we opened red and just came storming back, right? Let me pull this up. So we opened red and came roaring back and now have set up what is a bullish engulfing, right? And why it's important is because basically it takes us through the top of this resistance. So really a pretty impressive day overall. A little bit unexpected, in my opinion, after yesterday's kind of weak finish and weak open. But anyway, while people are off watching basketball, a pretty impressive, strong, busy session is taking place. What I wanted to highlight is Square. So this is currently an open trade, right? I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Square. What's interesting is that it really hasn't participated, right? So it did what Square normally does after earnings. So they beat and guided lower, kind of like its MO. Has a history of doing that. The stock, like again, has a history of recovering very quickly, snapping back, which it did. But basically, after like the strong red to green move here on the day of its earnings, it's basically just been stuck underneath 80. And I really felt like that created some opportunity, right? It wasn't one that we played on earnings, so it was one I was watching after the report, and it basically is just kind of hovering under like this really critical area of resistance, right? And it's like a baby FANG stock. I feel like is what people consider it, right? It's not on the same magnitude as the Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and so on, but it does kind of fall into that like Momo category. And with averages really starting to work nicely higher, things starting to break out, you started to see some of those FANG names wake up, right? Netflix yesterday, Amazon starting to break out, Google breaking out, Apple starting to go. So it's not like you just go and look for everything. I mean, it still needs to be like a solid setup, and I felt like this is something that's been prepping for a while, right? So it just keeps bumping into it, bumping into it, bumping into it. And you can see, really nicely, steadily rising trend, right? So November, December, and January almost like an anomaly in terms of like the overall trend of this stock. But you could make that argument with a lot of names, right? I mean, just some really heavy washout selling. But now Square back above its trend, back above this critical 200-day, which you can see right here, right? And just recently, it got back through the 20. So just today, so like recently, as in today, it got back through the 20 and the fast-moving 8, right? So it's gonna be putting increasing pressure on like this overhead resistance. And what's interesting is I mean, you have a really well-defined area, right? And then above that, there's not a whole lot, right? So you get like a quick move through resistance, retest the high from earnings, which basically lines up perfectly with November. And then what's above that? Really not a whole lot. Part of the benefit of waiting till after the report is that the implied volatility of the options contracted, right? So when you're not paying for a catalyst, the implied volatility tends to contract, right? So after the report's out of the way, implied volatility begins to contract. So if you're looking for a swing and you can get like a decent setup, then the prices are typically a little bit better. Now, why am I talking about it today? Well, yeah, it's obviously having a great day, right? But if you guys, if you've listened to some of the videos I've done in the past, and then in our option session a couple weeks ago, I talked about like what I look for with the unusual option activity, right? So personally, not one of those people that just watches the blocks every single day, just chasing big blocks of calls, chasing big blocks of puts. Like that's really not my style. I don't care for it. What I do take notice of, though, when it comes to unusual option activity, is when there's a few scenarios where I I really take notice of it. And the primary, or one of the primary, is when a stock is working on a critical inflection point, right? So critical breakout, breakdown, reversal, so on and so forth. So with Square pushing up into like this really massive area of supply, right? This overhead resistance level. It's acting great today, but what's also super encouraging is option interest or option activity, okay? So what do I mean by that? So there's been really aggressive near-term call activity picking up on this. So it started, I mean, you're going to see like these have really piled up. So it started with there was some 78s for next week, right? Short term, right? Then what's really gotten cooking is this out of the money 83 calls in April. So this is April expiration. So this is about a month out. But you can see these things are really piled up. Over 6,000 have traded, and there's been multiple blocks on that. And what's nice about that, well, there's been, as you can see, like there's been a few blocks of calls being purchased. And what's nice about this April 18th 83s, if we go back here, is that it lines up almost perfectly with the top from earnings, right? And back in November, right? So the high on this session was 83 almost to the dot, and here was 82.78. So it's a bet directly at that critical top where a move through that could really lead to a significant breakout, right? So it's not quite there yet, but it's getting close, and with the stock acting strong and it getting very near like a critical range, you're starting to see the option activity pick up, and that's really a great sign. Now what I'm watching is to see if it can get through 80, and then once through 80, I want to see a fast move to 82.50 to 83, and then the baby FANG stock can maybe regain some of its luster, right? Start heading back north and join like the other FANG stocks, which are just cruising higher right now. So that's what I'm watching. This is a name I've kind of been focused on all week. Actually, I just felt like there was a lot of potential here to play catch up, and really encouraged by today's action. Still got some work to do, but don't sleep on this one, all right? Because there could be a lot of potential here. So let me know what you think, right? About this, about trades this week, about trades coming up, anything you're looking at. Reach out. I'd love to hear from you, all right? So hope you guys have a great night, and keep an eye out tomorrow for earnings on the radar, all right? Talk to you all then.